Good morning, every nation. How are you doing? It's really great to be with you. Thank you so much, Wolfie, for your welcome. It's been great to get to know you over the last few years. I wanted to talk this morning, but I wanted to talk quite personally, if you'll allow me. Because something happened to me a few years ago. I don't know if anybody here has ever eaten too much chocolate. Yeah, so I'm not asking for confessions, but there are a few. You've ever been to, you think, oh, it's a night in tonight, I'm going to watch a movie, or I'm going to catch up on that period drama, or whatever it is, or that reality show, and you think, but I just need a little bit of help. I just need that little bar of chocolate. And you call by the supermarket, and you see those little bars at the bottom there. They're quite hard to reach over and grab, but just right at hand level are the really, really big bars. Yeah? And you look at the price difference and you think, wow, this is such great value. If I bought one of these, it would last me a week of nights in, watching films and junky TV. I'll tell you what, I'll get the big bar and I'll have 2 strips tonight, and then I've got enough to have 4 or 5 other nights out this bar. Have you ever done this? And there you are, you're watching the TV, you're eating your chocolate, and before you know it, there's only 1 strip left. And you kind of think, and at this point, it's not like you're trying to do the right thing and save that for another night. You just know you've eaten too much. It's that sickly feeling. And this may sound strange, but I felt I reached that place in my Christian faith where it had become so self-focused and self-centered and about Jesus and me that if I consumed any more, the unthinkable was going to happen. It was going to be very nasty and very messy. Have any of you here ever eaten too much on Christmas Day? No. We shouldn't really talk about that sort of thing at this time of year anyway. But that's what it felt like. I'd listened to so many sermons, been to so many services, read so many books, listened to so many audios. I'd consumed so much. And it just felt like I could not take any more. And God doesn't speak to me kind of thing, but I did feel like God spoke to me. And I felt God say to me, Matt, de-privatise your faith. Take that which you have made about Jesus and you for so long and actually put it out there in the real world. And that which does not survive was just religion, and you were better off without it. But that which survives is the real thing. So I began this journey of de-privatising my faith. One of the first things I did was I joined a political party. Now, I'm not going to ask you which party, but just a show of hands, who here is a member of a political party? Okay, Wolfie, we've got some work to do. Okay, I can't see anybody. Okay, so I joined a political party. Just a little sign, you need to join a political party. It does matter which one, but, broadly, it doesn't matter which one. So I joined a political party, and like with many memberships, you can have it but do nothing with it. And so for 6 months, I proudly had my membership card in the drawer, and I did nothing else. And one day I thought, I need to do something about it. It's a bit like a membership at the gym, isn't it? You feel great you got the membership, but unless you go, it doesn't really make any difference. And I thought, okay, I'm going to go. And so I went down to my local political group one Saturday morning and said, can I help with some leafleting? And they said, actually, we're going door knocking. This sounds familiar. I've done this for Jesus, I thought, surely I can do it for my political convictions. So out we went. And but before we went out knocking on doors, canvassing, they called it. That's their version of it. And before we went out and did that, they took me into a side room and they said, Matt. And I thought, oh no, I do put my foot in it in life. I thought, I've put my foot in it already. What have I said or what have I done? And they took me into this side room and they said, Matt, we've got a local election coming up in 2 months. And we're a candidate short. It's an unwinnable seat, and we need a name to put on the ballot paper. Because if we haven't got a full quota of names, it looks really bad on the party. It looks like we can't drum up support and there's no interest. So it's an unwinnable seat. You're kind of like what we call a paper candidate. We just need your name. And I thought, okay, yeah, I'll do that for you. It's not going to have much impact on me. And yeah, okay, sure, I'll do it. And over the next few months, I went out and I did lots of canvassing. And I knocked on doors and talked to people and listened to their issues about their community and our society. And 2 months later, I remember I love playing squash. And I played squash with a good friend. And I said to him, do you know what, Chris? Today was our local election. And I stood as a candidate, I had to be a councillor. I said, but it's just a paper candidate thing. He said, Matt, let's go to the count. Now, the count is that thing at the local town hall where through the night, people sit at tables counting the votes. And then at some unearthly hour in the morning, the chief exec stands up behind the microphone and he announces who has won. Well, my wife goes to bed early. I tend to go to bed late and get up early. But so whenever I come in at night, I creep in. On this particular occasion, it was about 2:30 in the morning. You probably don't need to know this, but I stripped naked in the corridor because I didn't want to wake my wife up. So I was just about to say, so you can imagine. No, I don't want you to imagine. But anyway, I did, and I pulled back the duvet. It's a large bed, so I thought, I've practiced this for years, and just pull back the duvet, slip underneath. Head on the pillow, asleep. She won't hear a thing. My wife, she's such a light sleeper. We've had 3 children. She hears a pin drop. So I put my head on the pillow, and there's this voice. What happened? Am I hearing anything? What happened? She said, just tell me what happened, will you? I said, I won. She sat bolt upright in bed and said, you what? And that was the start of my journey as a local government councillor. And my journey continues. I'm continuing to do things with my faith that puts it out there as well as in here. Because I think sometimes the great thing about our Protestant faith is this focus on us and Jesus. Personal salvation, personal holiness, justification, sanctification, and all that stuff. But like every strength, it has a downside. And the downside of that kind of emphasis is it can become quite self-focused and self-indulgent. And there's a fantastic set of words that Jesus spoke. He said, "You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand. And it gives light to everyone in the house." Our faith, our Christian faith, our love for Jesus, as you well know, is a very, very personal matter. It sounds strange if you're here and you're not a Christian yet, or you're not sure, you know when it happens, by the way. You just have this incredible love and this kind of overwhelming sense of God's love for you. And you become obsessed by this person, Jesus. And that experience is so personal. But we so often slip into making what is personal private. And our Christian faith was never meant to be private. Our Christian faith was never meant to be hidden. It was never meant to be a light under a bowl. How can you hide a Christian faith when it sits on a hill? Our Christian faith is profoundly, powerfully personal, but it is not private. It is a public faith. It is there for the world to see. And I'm not talking about standing on large podiums and preaching at people and declaring your Christian faith. I'm talking about the kind of Christian faith that is made public by the way that we choose to live our lives. Day in, day out, week in, week out, month after month, year after year. We have a profoundly personal, but also a profoundly public faith. The devil loves private faith. He loves it when Christians become so obsessed with gathering in meetings, and it's not a bad thing to gather. He becomes so delighted when we're so obsessed with singing songs of worship, when it becomes so about me, us and him, because our faith becomes private. And its impact on the society around us is completely immunized. The devil loves that. Our faith is a public faith. It's a light on a hill. And so I wanted to encourage us this morning. I wanted to encourage myself in 3 ways. Firstly, I wanted to encourage us to de-privatize our faith in the workplace. De-privatize our faith in the workplace. Can you do one favour for me? Can I just ask one request of you today? Is that okay? I would ask you to do one thing. Never, ever, 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 ever describe your work as secular. Never. Your work is not secular. Your work can be sacred. And your attitude towards it makes it sacred. The only thing that is truly secular is sin. And if your work is sinful, get another job. But when we use the word secular, we somehow say it's kind of second rate. It's not sacred, it's not godly. Worship was never ever meant to be something that is just about singing songs on a Sunday. Worship is a way and a posture of life, of how we choose to live. Paul wrote to the church in Colossae, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as if working for God and not for man. We're exhorted, the Bible exhorts us to work as if it is worship. So never, ever describe your work as secular. The only thing that is secular is sin. Abolish any sense of hierarchy. Because there is this little mythical hierarchy of work that sometimes permeates churches. I'm sure it does not here. But at the pinnacle is Christian ministry. You're a pastor or an elder. You know, and sometimes I visit a lot of churches, and I'll say to somebody, oh, what do you do? Oh, they say, I'm a worship leader, or I'm a this. Or I said, but no, what's your day job? Oh, I'm a banker, or I'm a... And it's kind of nearly apologetically, it's nearly like you're not really interested in that, because Christian ministry is perceived as being the be-all and end-all. I know a dear friend of mine, I won't say his name, who was part of a church, and he really felt called by God to be a member of Parliament. And his church did everything possible to not waste his time becoming a member of Parliament. They tried to persuade him to become an apprentice and become a pastor, because that is the most, seriously, for them that was the most important calling, because they have this dualistic view of the world, where that's secular and this is sacred. This is building God's kingdom, that is tainted and awful. John held on, and I'm delighted he's just been re-elected for the second time as a member of Parliament, who's a Christian, who prays, and I won't say too much, but is involved in in how the government runs. We need more people with that kind of a calling, don't we? And then so the Christian ministry is up there, and then there's caring professions. My wife is a teacher. You know, when you go to church, you say you're a teacher. Oh, good for you. That's great. You get to work with kids, or a social worker, or a doctor, or something like that. I mean, at least you're caring for people. I mean, my wife does an incredible job. She's increased the maths SATs results from 75% pass rate to last year, 93% of the kids she worked with got whatever, I don't know the ins and outs of it, got this kind of level of in their SATs results. It's incredible, transforming the life opportunities and possibilities for young people. And you can kind of see, the kind of, well, it's good. It's good. It's not Christian ministry, but it's good. Any teachers or social workers or doctors here? Any? There we go. Hopefully you feel good about your work. And so you've got Christian ministry, and then you've got the caring professions, and then at the bottom of the pile are the people that are in it for the cash. Yeah, you're a banker, you're a lawyer, you're insurance, recruitment, whatever it is. I mean, what good is that to God other than earning jolly well and giving a jolly good tithe and offering? That doesn't resonate with anybody here, I'm sure. I want to say to you that work that generates cash is the only thing that ends systemic poverty. If you are in a Welsh Valley and you are in your third or fourth generation of unemployment as a family, you are trapped. The only thing that can get you out of that trap is not welfare. It will keep you going, but it will not give your life purpose or meaning or intent or give you a sense of dignity and self-worth. It's work that gives people that. Work is not filthy. Work ends poverty. It breaks the cycle of poverty. It brings people a sense of hope and a sense of purpose. Work creates economic empowerment and social empowerment. We need work that makes money. And this is how the hierarchy is viewed. Whether you're a Christian minister or in a caring profession or you're simply in it for cash generation, I want to say to you, abolish that hierarchy of work. Because I believe that God is as much in the work of the banker as he is the work of the church leader, as he is the work of the teacher. I would encourage you, whatever work you are in, develop a theology of your work. Develop a sense of the sacredness of your work and how you do it. I mean, a friend of mine, Rob, amazing guy, his father was a postman. And I remember Rob telling the story of how at school one day they went around the class and they asked each of the kids, "What does your dad do?" And Rob, Mum was a postman. And the other, I'm a company director, and my dad's this, my dad's that, and my dad's the other. And he said how ashamed he felt. And he went home that night and was talking to his dad. And his dad said to him, his dad could feel his son was not proud of what he did. And his dad said to him, "Rob, I deliver the Royal Mail. I deliver the Queen's mail." He was proud about what he did. And I'd encourage you, whatever you do, find God in it. Find a sense of purpose in it. And call your work a sacred thing. De-privatise your faith in the workplace. Allow your faith to transform how you view your work. And I want to say to you, if you cannot find God in your work, you need to do this carefully, but fundamentally, you need to find new work. Life is too short to spend half of your waking life doing something where you do not know God in it. So find God in your work or find new work. I work as a corporate speaker. I created this thing, relationology. I got an invitation 4 years ago to speak at a business conference on networking. I don't know how you react when you hear that word. I hate networking. I find it contrived. I find it manipulative. Anyway, so by the time the conference organizer had finished hearing my short speech on the subject, they were convinced that no, I did not want to accept the invitation to speak at the conference on networking. But I did go on to say that actually I do believe in building authentic long-term relationships. I should have kept my mouth shut. The conference organizer immediately said, Matt, will you speak on that subject? I agreed. I did not want to become known as the anti-networking guy. It's always bad to be defined by what you're not. Party politicians discover this, or did do a couple of weeks ago. It's bad to be defined by what you're not. You need to know what you're for. What are you for? Who are you for? And I thought relationships, they're a science because every one of us can learn to do them better. Relationships are an art form because they take a lifetime to master. And I was thinking the science and the art and the science of relationships, relationology. I ran to my computer, I bought the company, trademarked the name, bought the web domains, and now I run a little business called Relationology. And I go into corporate clients, into banks, lawyers, people in recruitment, all sorts of professional service type situations. And I help them grow their revenue by building stronger relationships with their clients. Because you buy from people you like, not from people you don't. I haven't got time to go into all of that. So for me, actually, my work, I see it as a sacred thing. I go into big businesses and I help them build stronger relationships. It means I speak to big audiences it's like I'm preaching but without the Jesus words. It's an incredible privilege. And the whole of my understanding about relationology is based on one thing. It's based on my understanding of God and who he is. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. God exists in this family, this cooperative, this partnership of love and preferment and sacrifice and self-giving. And we are created in the image of that kind of God. We are born for relationships. We only flourish and thrive as human beings when we are in right relationship with other people. So the whole of my teaching and training as the relationologist is based upon my understanding of who God is. And I'd really encourage you, whatever it is you do in the workplace, work out your theology of your work. Make it a sacred thing. Never, ever call it secular. Now I need to crack on. I've just seen the time. The second thing I want to encourage you in this morning is to de-privatise our faith in the neighbourhood. Bear with me for a moment, I'm a theologian on the side, and one of my favourite theologians is a guy called Professor Leslie Newbigin. And he once said, the local church is the hermeneutic of the gospel. Hermeneutic is, if you like, the translator. The local church is the translator of the gospel. And what he meant was this: Christian faith is made real in communities through the life and service and mission of local churches. What the society in which we live thinks about the church or thinks about Christianity is determined by how local churches operate and behave and what kind of impact they have in the community. At the beginning of the Gospel of John, it says the Word was God. And then verse 14, I love it in the Message translation. The Word became flesh and blood and moved into the neighborhood. This is the incarnation. This is the local church as the hermeneutic of the gospel. It's God become human that made Christianity for us, defined Christianity. And it is our life as a church that defines what Christianity is to the society in which we live. So how do we de-privatise our faith? It's not all about the songs we sing and the sermons we listen to, but how is our faith made real in the community in which we live? We serve out of an incredible experience of God's love. And sometimes we're tempted to love other people with strings attached. But the thing is, God doesn't love us with strings attached. God loves us unconditionally. And we should love as God loves. And I'll come on and tell you more in a minute about the Cinnamon Network, but one community beneficiary said to a Christian volunteer, they asked them this question: will you still be my friend if I don't accept your Jesus? Will you still be my friend if I don't accept your Jesus? The answer to that question has to be yes. Otherwise, we are not living in the unconditional love of God, and our Christian service is not based upon the unconditional love of God. Regardless of whether anybody ever comes to Christ or comes to church, we should love them and serve them in Christ's name. That is the gospel. That is making Christianity real in our communities. And at the moment, the church has a reputational crisis. Because when you ask the average person in your workplace or in your community what they think of Christians and the church, they'll say a lot of things you couldn't repeat. They'll say a lot of things, maybe we're bigoted, maybe we're homophobic, maybe we're sexist, maybe we're... Now, some of those things we have important perspectives on and beliefs about. But the Bible that we read makes it clear those are not the things that we should be known for. When Jesus was asked what's the most important, it was to love God and love your neighbour. Those are the things that we should be known for, but we're living in this serious situation where the church is viewed in such disparaging ways. But I think we have a unique opportunity as the Christian church. We are living, and this is not party political, but we are living in a very interesting social, political, economic environment. So, regardless of what happened 2 weeks ago in the general election, this government, whoever they were going to be, we now know who they are, was going to have to make further cuts. Whoever was in government. They might try and pretend it's not, but the last government, the Institute of Fiscal Studies, did some work that said the last government cut £35 billion from public spending. Based on the autumn statement, this current government would have to cut £51.4 billion from public spending. The worst is yet to come. So whilst we live in an environment where the economy, certainly in London, there's signs of growth. Recruitment businesses I work with they've never had it so good because people are recruiting for growth. And yet, for those people who struggle in our communities, the worst is yet to come. The grant from central government to local government doesn't reach its lowest point until 2016, 2017. Every local authority in the country, Hammersmith and Fulham. I was with a senior executive from Hammersmith and Fulham for dinner at a big dinner thing I was at on Friday night. And he was telling me about the further cuts they've got to make. Now, Birmingham, the largest local authority in the country, is forecasting a deficit in 2016-2017 of £600 million. £600 million. London Borough of Merton, my local authority, one of the smallest local authorities in the country, is forecasting a deficit of £40 million. Whether it's 600 or 40, it's a lot of millions. Considering all the fat's been trimmed already and things have been adjusted, actually what's going to happen next is going to be even more severe, and it's going to impact those people who struggle in our communities. It's going to impact the poor. The guy I sat with on Friday night said to me, Hammersmith and Fulham are forecasting a deficit in 2016-2017 of £72 million. They're working with Westminster, Kensington and Chelsea. They're merging services. They're re-engineering and rethinking how they deliver all that they deliver in the community to try and make savings to make it work. And they are so desperate. I sat with a group of church leaders and the chief exec of a local authority recently. And one of the church leaders asked the chief exec, when we do what we do in the community, we'll do it unconditionally. But when somebody asks us why we do what we do, we will always talk about Jesus and our Christian faith. Is that a problem to us working together? Went very quiet. the chief exec said, thought for a moment, and said, "We are so desperate, we will work with anybody." I'm telling you, this social, political, economic environment is creating a historic, unprecedented opportunity for the Christian church in the UK. This is our moment to step up, step out, and prove that our Christian faith means something. That it is tangible and real and transform lives. That Christ has transformed our life, and it's transformed the life of our family. It's transformed the life of this congregation, and it can transform the life of every person in our communities. I believe that this economic situation we find ourselves in must compel us to act swiftly and effectively to make an impact in our communities. And so I started the Cinnamon Network 4 years ago. And Cinnamon Network simply makes it as easy as possible for local churches to serve people at need in the community. And there are 3 things it does. Because church leaders say to us, we need ideas that work, we need money to get started, and we need skilled volunteers. And those are the 3 things that Cinnamon Network does. We provide a menu, and you can have one of these on the way out if you'd like, my gift to you. We have a menu of 24 brilliant projects. Street pastors, food banks, night shelters, cap advice, job clubs. These are projects that are tried and tested. You haven't got to go through blood, sweat and tears of starting something new. Don't waste your time. Take something off the shelf and adapt it locally. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. We're in too much of a hurry to do all that stuff. So firstly, we provide a menu of brilliant projects, and we're always adding to these projects. Secondly, we will give you £2,000 to start one of these projects. Yes, let me say that again. Any Christian church of any Christian denomination, we will give you £2,000 to help start the project. Because we know it's more expensive to start a project than to sustain a project. So we help you. And guess where that money comes from? The government. The government has given us more than £1 million to give away to churches to start these projects. The police forces around the country are giving us pots of money to give away to churches to start these projects. I haven't got time to go into the whys, but it's all around demand reduction and building stronger and more resilient communities. But these projects do that. And thirdly, we train volunteers with the skills they need to lead projects and volunteer in projects. Currently, there are over 3,700 churches in the UK who run one of these projects. 56,000 volunteers a year, 1.4 million beneficiaries. It's amazing, isn't it? But there are 50,000 branches of the local church in the UK, and currently we're only working with 3,700 of them. Our target is to work with 10,000 churches so we can have an impact in our communities. And for me, this is what it's about in terms of de-privatising our faith in the neighbourhood, making the incarnation real, making the gospel relevant, living the faith that we all live for. Third encouragement. So firstly, to de-privatise our faith in the workplace. Secondly, to de-privatise our faith in the neighbourhood. And thirdly, de-privatise our faith in the public square. I love that. Let me look it up. That passage in Colossians. Colossians chapter 1. Where it says, the Son is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creation. For in him all things were created, things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or powers or rulers or authorities. All things have been created through him and for him. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. And he is the head of the body, the church. He is the beginning and the firstborn from among the dead, so that in everything he might have the supremacy. For God was pleased to have all his fullness dwell in him, and through him to reconcile to himself all things, whether things on earth or things in heaven, by making peace through his blood shed on the cross. We do not have a God of some things. We do not have a God who's interested in church life, but has no interest in business, or politics, or policing, or media, or education, or health. We have a God. We have a Lord Jesus Christ who is head of all things. And I believe that, I just encourage you guys. I know we've just had the general election, and you think now may be the wrong time. Now is the right time. I'd encourage every one of you this week to think and pray long and hard about which political party most resonates with your convictions, and join it. Join it. The Lib Dems are completely obliterated. They need more Christian people involved, taking part. The Conservative Party need more members. The Labour Party need more members. Join a political party. Your faith must mean something for how our country runs. If our faith does not inform how we live together and the policies that we create, it means nothing. Join a political party. Vote. I won't ask who voted and who didn't. I'm sure you all voted. But join a political party. The thing is, when you join a political party, you get the opportunity to choose who stands as your candidate. A friend of mine stood, and it's a kind of an open event, and people have to vote on which candidate they'd like to represent them. But you can normally only vote if you're a member of the party. So how are you going to help choose the right candidate for your party if you're not a member? You need to be a member. You need to have an influence. Jesus calls us to be salt and light, to influence. There's so many opportunities for us to be involved in the public square. Councillors, school governors, magistrates, special constables, charity trustees. There are an infinite list of ways. And you don't do all of them, just choose one of them. One way to get involved in public life in this local community. I call it my coffee and curry strategy. I just take people for coffee and take people for curry. That's what I do. And I know it's beginning to show. I like curry. But I'm particularly interested in how policing works and the opportunities that we've had to work with the police in London and around the country are incredible. I sit on a board now at the College of Policing for citizens and policing. And at the moment, I'm helping write a strategy of how police forces around the country relate to community groups. I sit through an awful lot of boring board meetings, but I sit there for opportunities like that, because when it comes up, I want to seize it. A few years ago, I was asked by the Met Police to sit on an interview panel. So all their senior promotions now, you have to have an external assessor, a community member. And I did it a couple of times. I said, if you need anybody else, I've got a few friends who could help. So this last round of promotion interviews, I got 25 friends. Did you do it, Wolfie? You didn't? So 25 friends I got, who are all Christian leaders, I got on these interview panels, helping choose who's selected for promotion within the Met. Surely that's where we need to be. There's so many incredible opportunities in the police. I haven't got time to tell you more, but there are massive opportunities. This week, Cinnamon Network, I'm going to finish here, I know time's up, sorry. This week we're publishing some research. We have helped 57 towns and cities do an audit of faith-based social action in their local authority area. 57 places who all are going to have a local report providing empirical evidence for the first time about the social impact and economic value of faith-based social action in their community. So they can work more closely with the local authority, local police, local business, and local partners to serve people at need. We're aggregating those 57 data sets and extrapolating them to produce a national report on faith-based social action in the UK. Archbishop Justin Welby is launching it for us on Wednesday. And we simply want to say, in the public square, faith is a force for good in our society, and here is the evidence. We're so good at telling the stories, but we need to speak with numbers. We need to provide evidence. And we want to say, as Cinnamon Network, we want to help even more churches step up to be involved in their communities. But all that stuff doesn't happen because we spend all our time in Christian meetings. It happens when you take coffee and eat curry with people in different spheres in our society. And so my encouragement to you today my encouragement to you is the same encouragement I feel that God is still giving to me. And that is de-privatise our faith. Take that very personal relationship that we have with Jesus and ensure that that relationship is expressed publicly in our workplaces as part of our sacred calling, in our neighbourhoods by incarnating the gospel through our words and actions and service to others, and de-privatising our faith in the public square, joining a political party, voting, choosing the candidates, becoming a magistrate, a special constable, a councillor, a school governor, a trustee of a local charity, seizing these opportunities as salt and light opportunities. This week, I would encourage you, please, do one new thing to de-privatise your faith. That's all I ask, just do one thing. And by the way, if you want help with your coffee and curry strategy, my book is on sale afterwards. I hate plugging my stuff, but it is a good book. Also, the 100 people that have written 5-star reviews on Amazon say, anyway. Actually, they weren't all my mum. Let me finish with where I started. Jesus said, "You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." Thank you.